Los Angeles International Airport. 1968. Bruce Lee is returning from Hong Kong carrying his martial arts. Training equipment nunchaku. Wooden dummy arms. Practice weapons when Customs Officer David Reynolds opens the bag, sees the equipment, and immediately says, "These are illegal weapons. You're under arrest for attempting to smuggle prohibited items into the United States." Bruce tries to explain. These aren't weapons. They're training tools. For martial arts practice, Officer Reynolds doesn't care. A weapon is a weapon. Nunchaku are classified as illegal in California, same as brass knuckles or switchblades. Doesn't matter what you call them. I'm confiscating these and you're coming with me for questioning every traveler in the customs area. Stops, stares, watches Bruce. Lee celebrity, TV star, martial arts instructor being detained like a criminal. Bruce has 30 seconds before he's escorted to a holding room. 30 seconds to prove that these aren't weapons. They're tools. And the most dangerous weapon isn't what you hold in your anditegates. What you know how to do without them. What Bruce demonstrates in those 30 seconds doesn't just get him released. It change. Officer Reynolds' entire understanding of what makes something dangerous. And 3 months later, Reynolds enrolls in Bruce's martial arts school. But to understand why those 30 seconds mattered, we need to understand the legal landscape of 1968. Los Angeles, California, 1968 en Los California Penal Code, Section 12020, prohibits possession of certain items classified as dangerous weapons. The list includes switchblade knives, brass knuckles, blackjacks, saps, slingshots, metal knuckles, dirks, daggers, and critically nunchaku. Nunchaku, to wooden or metal sticks connected by a short chain or rope. Originally Okinawan farming tools used for threshing rice. In the 1960s, increasingly associated with martial arts, and because they can be used as striking weapons. California classified them as illegal. Possession is a misdemeanor. Carrying, concealed, is a felony. Importing them into California, that's serious. That's trafficking in illegal weapons. That can mean arrest, prosecution, criminal record. The law doesn't distinguish between nunchaku, intended as weapons versus nunchaku, intended as training tools. An illegal object is an illegal object. Intent doesn't matter. And U.S. Customs agents are trained to enforce these laws. Their job, prevent prohibited items from entering the country. When they see something on the prohibited list, they confiscate it. When they suspect someone is importing illegal items, they detain them. David Reynolds has been a customs agent for 3 years. He's 29 years old. Takes his job seriously. Believes in the mission protecting American borders. Keeping dangerous items out of the country. He's confiscated drugs, counterfeit goods, prohibited agricultural products, illegal weapons. He's detained smugglers, drug traffickers, people attempting to bring in banned items. Reynolds isn't corrupt, isn't power-hungry, isn't a bad person. He's just a federal agent doing his job according to regulations. He didn't write, but is sworn to enforce. November 14th, 1968, Thursday afternoon, 3h45 p.m. Los Angeles International Airport. International Arrivals Terminal. The Customs Inspection Area where passengers from international flights are processed. Long rows of inspection counters. Customs agents in uniforms checking luggage. Passengers waiting, tired from long flights, eager to get home. Bruce Lee is returning from Hong Kong. He'd been visiting family, teaching seminars, meeting with martial arts schools, promoting his philosophy of Jeet Kune Do. He's carrying one checked bag and one carry-on. Both contain clothes, books, gifts for Linda and the kids, and his training equipment. Bruce goes through the normal customs process. Declaration form filled out honestly. Nothing to hide. Just training, tools for his work as a martial arts instructor. His bags are selected for random inspection. Standard procedure. Nothing suspicious. Juste routine. Officer David Reynolds is working counter 7. He's the agent assigned to inspect Bruce's luggage. Welcome back to the United States, Reynolds says professionally. How long were you in Hong Kong? 2 weeks, Bruce replies. Purpose of visit? Family and business. I teach martial arts. Was conducting seminars. Reynolds nod. Opens the checked bag. Starts going through items systematically. Clothes, books, a framed photograph. Some gifts, silk scarves for Linda. Then Reynolds sees them. At the bottom of the bag, wrapped in cloth. 2 nunchaku, wooden, traditional Okinawan style. Connected by chain. 3 wooden arms from a Wing Chun dummy. For practicing techniques. A collapsible BO staff. Practice version. Bleu temps. Reynolds's demeanor changes immediately. This isn't routine anymore. Sir, what are these? He points to the nunchaku. Training equipment. I use them to teach martial arts. These are nunchaku. Yes. You're aware nunchaku are illegal in California. Bruce's expression shifts. He knows the law. Has dealt with this before. Usually explains, shows his credentials as a professional instructor. And customs agents use discretion. I'm aware of the law, Bruce says carefully. But these aren't weapons. They're training tools, like a baseball bat or tennis racket. Tools for practicing technique. Reynolds shakes his head. California, Penal Code, Section 12020, classifies nunchaku as illegal weapons. There's no exception for training purposes. Possession is illegal. Importing them is illegal. These are prohibited items. Officer, I'm a professional martial arts instructor. I teach on television. I run schools in Los Angeles and Oakland. These are necessary equipment for my work. Doesn't matter. The law doesn't distinguish between professional use and illegal possession. Nunchaku are classified as dangerous weapons. Reynolds pulls out a red tag, begins filling out a confiscation form. Bruce's patience is wearing thin. He's not angry, just frustrated. This is bureaucracy interfering with his ability to do his job. Officer Reynolds, Bruce reads the name tag. These objects aren't dangerous by themselves. A weapon is only dangerous if someone knows how to use it. And, more importantly, someone trained in martial arts is. Dangerous whether or not. There, holding any object. Reynolds doesn't look up from his paperwork. Sir, I don't make the laws. I enforce them. And the law says nunchaku are illegal weapons. He reaches for the nunchaku to bag them as evidence. Bruce's hand moves. Not aggressive. Just stops Reynolds from taking them. Polite but firm. Reynolds looks up. A l'air no. His training kicks in. Suspect is interfering with confiscation. Potential escalation situation. Sir, remove your hand. Officer Reynolds, before you confiscate these, let me ask you something. Why do you think California made nunchaku illegal? Because they're dangerous. Dangerous how? Have you ever been attacked with nunchaku? No, but. Have you ever heard of anyone in California being attacked with nunchaku? Reynolds pauses. Actually, no. In 3 years of working customs, he's confiscated nunchaku a dozen times. But he's never actually heard of them being used in a crime. That's not Reynolds say. The law says they're dangerous. That's enough. The law is wrong, Bruce says calmly, and I can prove it. Give me 30 seconds. 30 seconds to do what? To prove that confiscating these objects doesn't make anyone safer. To prove that the most dangerous thing in this airport right now isn't what's in my bag. It's what's in my training. And you can't confiscate that. Reynolds hesitates. This is unusual. Suspects don't usually challenge him philosophically. They usually just argue, get angry, or comply. Sir, I'm confiscating these items and you're coming with me for questioning. That's the end of this discussion. Bruce doesn't move. Doesn't resist. Just speaks quietly. Officer Reynolds, you carry a gun. Standard issue firearm. Correct. Reynolds's hand instinctively goes to his service weapon. Yes. What about it? Is the gun dangerous? It's a weapon. Of course it's dangerous. So, if I took your gun right now, would I be dangerous? You'd be armed, yes. Wrong, Bruce says. I'd be holding a gun, but I wouldn't be dangerous, because I don't know how to use it properly. Don't know how to aim, load, maintain, fire accurately. The gun in my hand would be less dangerous than the gun in your hand, because you have training. Reynolds is listening now. Style à l'air. But curieux. Bruce continues. These nunchaku are the same. In my hands, they're dangerous because I have decades of training. Ignorant than a chain. You'd hurt yourself before you'd hurt anyone else. That's why they're illegal Reynolds counters, to keep them out of trained hands. But I already have trained hands. Confiscating these doesn't change that. Watch. Before Reynolds can respond, Bruce moves. He picks up his pen from the customs counter. A simple ballpoint pen. Standard issue. Nothing special. This pen, Bruce says, is not classified as a weapon. Completely legal. You wouldn't confiscate it. Correct. Correct. But in trained hands, this pen is more dangerous than those nunchaku. Would you like me to demonstrate? Reynolds is intrigued despite himself. Demonstrate how? I need a volunteer. Someone to hold this piece of paper. Bruce pulls a declaration form from the counter. Hold it at arm's length. I'm going to strike near it with this pen. 5 strikes. Fast, controlled. I won't touch the paper. But you'll feel the air displacement. You'll understand what I mean by dangerous. Reynolds looks around. Other passengers are watching now. This has become a scene. Another agent Martinez. Working, the adjacent counter walks over. Reynolds, what's going on? This passenger is claiming his illegal nunchaku aren't dangerous. Says a pen is more dangerous. Martinez looks at Bruce, recognizes him. Wait, you're Bruce Lee from the Green Hornet. Bruce nod. Yes. You're Kato, Martinez says, slightly starstruck. My kids love that show. Bruce seizes the opportunity. Agent Martinez, administration. It'll take 30 seconds. Hold this paper at arm's length. I'm going to show Officer Reynolds why. Confiscating objects doesn't address actual danger. Martinez looks at Reynolds. Reynolds shrugs. Fine, 30 seconds. Then we're done with this. Martinez holds the declaration form. Arme extended. Paper hanging vertically. Bruce takes a stance. Paninade. Held like a small weapon. Grip different from writing more like a knife. Watch the paper, Bruce says. I'm going to strike 5 times. Near the paper. You'll see speed. You'll feel air displacement. But premier one to shit. That's control. Reynolds and Martinez watch. Bruce move. Strike 1, pen shoots forward toward the paper's top, right corner. Stops 1 centimeter away. No contact. Martinez feels air move. Hairs on his arm stand up. Strike 2, lower left corner. Some speed. Same precision. Some contre. Strike 3, center. Faster. Martinez flinches but holds steady. Air displacement is stronger. The paper trembles but doesn't tear. Strike for top center. Even faste. The pen moves so quickly it blurs. Martinez's eyes can barely track it. The paper shakes from air pressure alone. Strike 5, traveling strike. Pen moves in a line down the paper's right edge. 1 centimeter away the entire path, controlled, precise, impossible precision. 5 strike. 8 seconds. Bruce returns to neutral position. Paninade. Breathing normal. The paper is undamaged. No a marque. Not a puncture. No a tir. Martinez lowers his arm. Looks at the paper. Looks at Bruce. How? Training, Bruce says simply. Decades of training. That's what makes someone dangerous. Not the object in their hand. He turns to Reynolds. Officer, you were going to confiscate nunchaku because California law says they're dangerous. But this Penwich is completely legal, just demonstrated. More danger than those nunchaku ever could in untrained hands. He sets the pen on the counter. You can confiscate every weapon in the world. Every nunchaku, every knife, every gun. But you can't confiscate training. Can't confiscate knowledge. Can't confiscate the ability to turn any object, a pen, a belt, a rolled-up magazine into something effective. Reynolds stands silent, processing. Bruce continues, his voice calm but firm. I understand you're doing your job, enforcing the law. But the law is targeting the wrong thing. It's not the object that's dangerous. It's the person. And if you want to actually make people safer, you don't ban objects. You teach discipline. You teach control. You teach respect. He gestures to his bag. Does nunchaku? I've been training with them for 20 years. Never hurt anyone except by accident during training. Never used them in anger. Never used them to threaten or intimidate. Because my training taught me control. Taught me when to use force and when not to. But someone without training could buy them and hurt people. Reynolds argues weakly. Someone without training would hurt themselves first, Bruce counters. Nunchaku require skill to use properly. Without training, they're more dangerous to the user than anyone else. The real danger is someone who trains in secret, learns enough to be reckless, but never learns discipline, never learns control, never learns when not to fight. Martinez speaks up. He has a point, Reynolds. Reynolds looks conflicted. 3 years of following regulations versus 30 seconds of demonstration that challenged everything he thought he knew about. Dangerous weapons. What you're saying, Reynolds speaks slowly, is that banning nunchaku is pointless because trained people don't need them to be dangerous. Exactly, Bruce says. And, more importantly, the people you want to keep safe there. Public there, safer when trained martial artists exist. Because we're the ones who understand restraint. Understand control. Understand that real strength is choosing not to fight unless absolutely necessary. Reynolds looks at the nunchaku, then at Bruce, then at the pen on the counter. He makes a decision. Mr. Lee, I'm going to use discretionary authority. I'm classifying these items as professional equipment for your documented work as a martial arts instructor. I'm allowing them into California under exemption for occupational tools. Bruce nod. Thank you. But Reynolds adds, I want to understand what you do. Want to see what real martial arts training looks like. Not on TV, in person. You're welcome to visit my school anytime, Bruce offers. I'd like that. Reynolds processes Bruce through customs. Bague cleared. No confiscation. No detention. As Bruce is leaving, Reynolds calls after him. Monsieur Lee, you were right about the training being the dangerous part, not the object. I've been confiscating things for 3 years thinking I was making people safer. But I've never thought about whether banning objects actually addresses the problem. Most people don't, Bruce says. They see the weapon and think that's dangerous. But they don't see the discipline that prevents weapons from being used. Don't see the training that teaches people to resolve conflicts without violence. 3 months later, February 1969, David Reynolds walks into Bruce Lee's Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute in Los Angeles. Not as a federal agent, à sa stud. He trains with Bruce for 2 years, learns martial arts, but more importantly, learns the philosophy, learns that strength without discipline is just chaos, learns that weapons without control are just danger, learns that real martial arts isn't about fighting. It's about not needing to fight. Reynolds continues working for customs for another 15 years. Retires in 1983, but his approach to enforcement changes after meeting Bruce. He still confiscates illegal items, still follows the law, but he understands now that objects aren't the problem. Training and discipline are the solution. When he trains new customs agents, he tells them Bruce's story. The day a martial arts instructor taught him that you can't legislate safety by banning objects. You create safety by promoting discipline. Bruce Lee showed me something in 30 seconds that changed my entire career. Reynolds would say, he showed me that the most dangerous person in any situation isn't the one holding a weapon. It's the one with the training to turn anything into a weapon. And the safest person in any situation isn't the one without weapons. It's the one with the discipline to never use them unless absolutely necessary. The nunchaku Bruce brought through customs that day, still in his collection, used for training students for the rest of his life, never used in violence, never used in anger, just training tools, because that's what they always were. So here's the question, what are you banning instead of understanding? What objects are you afraid of instead of addressing the people who misuse them? What rules are you following without questioning whether they actually solve the problem they claim to address? Because Officer Reynolds spent 3 years confiscating weapons, thinking he was making people safer. Then Bruce Lee spent 30 seconds proving that safety doesn't come from banning objects. It comes from teaching discipline. 30 seconds to change a federal agent's understanding. 30 seconds to prove that legislation without wisdom is just security theater. 30 seconds to show that real danger and real safety both come from training. No object. That's what 30 seconds created. Not just one released traveler. Not just one confiscation prevented. but years of changed policy, decades of different thinking, generations of enforcement officers who understood that banning things doesn't solve problems. Teaching discipline solves problems. What will you do with your 30 seconds